Mr. Brandon Brice, welcome to the agenda.
Thank you for having me.
It's not oftentimes that we have people that aren't legislators particularly on the agenda, but in this time of the year, especially this season of giving, it's important that we talk about philanthropy and giving. And there's no better organization that I can think of right now other than the United Way to ensure that funds are being appropriated appropriately and being distributed appropriately as well.
You know, it's an organization that's got a 75-year history. And we're really doing great work in the community. And, you know, when we talk about holiday season, people are giving back. They're thinking about other people. And that's been our mission for over 75 years.
And what is your role with the United Way?
So I serve as the Director of Philanthropy and Equity. And it's a unique role because it's really around not only just giving back, but really addressing some of the systematic discriminatory issues in our society and in our nation. And so the whole racial equity conversation is how do we make sure things like more people are getting opportunity to access to employment. More people are getting opportunities to different career opportunities that are out there. More people are getting access to quality health care. People that are coming home from being incarcerated, they're getting the opportunity to get a second chance at life. That's the equity issue that we're dealing with, and that's the equity issue, that the United Way has taken on through the DRJC, the Delaware Racial Justice Collaborative.
So first, I'm going to come back to that. But are you seeing with these initiatives? So the United Way is an advocate for a lot of these initiatives and consults with the states and federal governments on creating these programs and programming. But are you seeing any partisan ties and how this affects the giving of these programs? You
know, the beauty of philanthropy is that we don't, we're not concerned about partisan politics. We're focusing on solving the issue. We've seen philanthropic giving from both sides of the aisle, and we're really talking about how do we fix the problems that we have in our state. You know, right now when we talk about issues around getting people, again, access to quality services, given COVID-19, United Way has stepped up in a major way, and the DRJC is taking the task to say that we care not just about giving back, but giving back to those who are in most need and are most vulnerable.
So did you notice, of course, COVID played an impact in so many of our lives, not just here in the state of Delaware, but throughout the country and throughout the world. But how did COVID affect giving? And what were the numbers that you're seeing? Are they increasing? Are they decreasing?
You know, ironically, people gave more, after COVID. And I think it's because, when you talk about a pandemic, and it impacted Delaware very hard, specifically some of our Black and brown communities. And so it's pretty clear that the need was there. But what COVID did, it exposed the problem that we already knew was occurring in our communities. And so United Way and the DRJC has taken on the task to solve these issues through giving, through also collaborative and strategic partnerships of bringing the corporate community and government together to solve these problems.
So what is the DRJC?
The Delaware Racial Justice Collaborative is a collaborative that was actually birthed out of the George Floyd movement. And it was really a way to say, how do we start to address some of the systematic discriminatory issues, specifically in BIPOC communities? And so you're talking about leaders from all over the state that came together to solve these issues and dealing with things like education reform.
The state of Delaware.
State of Delaware. Okay. Things like education reform, things like giving people quality access to healthcare services, things like, when a person comes back from home and they're a returning citizen, how do we make sure that they get a second chance at life? And then things like the workforce creation of workforce development, of how do we make sure that we're talking about career paths and not just preparing students in Delaware for the jobs of today, but for the jobs of tomorrow.
Great. So how are you working with local governments, municipalities, state governments, federal governments to ensure that these things are getting done?
So part of that is through strategic partnerships. The city has really been a big partner in helping us solve some of the issues through, a program that we have called the Learning Pods. And what the Learning Pod is it's really taken to say, how do we make sure that students actually are getting a fair shot given COVID-19? It's an opportunity where students can go after school programs, partnering with schools, where they can actually go and get real life training from real life instructors so that they don't miss a beat in COVID-19. We all know, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, the education system in America, not just in Delaware, really took a hit.
We are big on this show, and so many of our legislators that come on are as well in regards to infrastructure, human infrastructure and physical infrastructure. So when I'm hearing learning pods, I hear that you are working towards relieving the barriers to entry for kids or for youngsters that are trying to obtain a proper education. A lot of that has to do with Wi-Fi.
Absolutely.
A lot of that has to do with computers, and I guess someone knowledgeable in there to help them with their education. And that, to me, is infrastructure. Am I wrong?
No, but that's the greatest kind of infrastructure, is making sure that kids, regardless of their zip codes, have an opportunity to compete. And that's really, when you talk about the DRJC, that's what we're doing when we talk about this equity issue. And what that means we're giving people, despite their challenges, a real fighting chance to be successful in their careers and in life.
So that's a hot button topic right now in politics when they hear equity. A lot of people don't understand what that means. They think that it's just lowering the bar. Right. They think that it's giving people handouts, but it's more of equalization, I would consider, than anything else. Would you agree to that?
You know, not only would I agree with that, but I'm a product of equity. I mean, equity is one of those things that says, how do we make sure that communities of color are involved in the skilled trades industry, which we're seeing numbers that aren't sufficient with the state's population. It's saying, how do we make sure that people have real quality access to healthcare? We saw that through the pandemic. And then how do we look at things like wealth creation and criminal justice to say, are we preparing people for when they get out of being incarcerated, or keeping them from being incarcerated? What opportunities are we truly giving those people? It saves the taxpayer money, and it gives people a real chance in society.
So what are big businesses doing to help level this and contribute to your organization?
Well, philanthropy and corporations go hand in hand. Their support is really helping us continue the programs like the Learning Pods, like some of the Fusion Alliance, which we just rolled out, which is really addressing some of the diversity issues, diversity, equity, and inclusion issues in the workforce. But we can always do more. And so I say, support the DRJC for your listeners, because it's that we can do more to help expand and help serve more Delawareans.
So how do we support the DRJC?
www.drjc.org.
You were ready for that.
I was waiting for that. But it's an opportunity. It's about giving back, and the more Delawareans we serve, the better Delaware will be.
Brandon, we're talking about a state now that has more business incorporated in it than it does people, right? It's well known. Delaware is what you do, but we also have some great headquarters here, right? Comores and so many other companies. So when we're talking about corporate responsibility and giving, how does that work with the United Way?
Well, the thing is, we want our corporate partners to be just that. We want them to be partners. And so it's important that, corporations see the support that we're trying to do and begin to be partners in that in some of our small programs or some of our programs that support our DRJC movement. The other piece to that, though, is that in addition to corporate support, we want to really address the issue of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Recently, we had the Colonel of the Newcastle County Police on here. We've had legislators on here talking, not necessarily all about the recent things that are going on in this country in regards to Black Lives Matter, but there's also so many things as far as education on both sides of that, from law enforcement and from citizens. Does the United Way have a program directly related to that, and can we fund that?
So here's what's interesting. The DRJC deals with criminal justice reform. And one of the angles that we've looked at is, in addressing police, some of the policing issues, is how much of the community is involved with policing decisions? How much of the police force represents the communities that they serve? We want to handle those issues to get more people of color in law enforcement, because we feel then we'll have a fair share in that area. In some cases, we've been successful, and in some cases, we're still fighting that fight.
So what are the goals for 2022?
Our goals are really to continue to sustain our programs, to build out our learning pods, the Fusion Alliance programs, to expand and partner with other small to mid-sized businesses around their diversity issues. But it's really to address the issues of not only making sure companies are equitable, but making sure that kids are learning, making sure that people are getting jobs and employment if they haven't had that, making sure that people are getting quality access to healthcare. Continuing the tenets of the DRJC, that's our goal, and that's what we plan to enhance in 2022.
Healthcare, I'm glad you brought that up, because we are very much in favor of the vaccine here on this show. Ensuring that people are getting the vaccine, ensuring that people are getting tested, not just here in Newcastle County, but throughout the state, and the importance of it and how it affects the human infrastructure of this state and just the overall health of the people here in this state. What are some of the things that your organization is doing for community healthcare to get to ensure that that is happening?
So we have taken a very strong task on making sure that people are getting education about the vaccine, making sure they have quality access to get the vaccine. And there's the elephant in the room is there has been some mistrust in what the vaccine is doing.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so, our history. But what we've done is we're looking at the facts. We're giving Delawareans from all sectors and all neighborhoods real information. We're giving them access to get the vaccine, and also what we're doing is we're trying to be that middleman to help them get the quality care again that they need, and just be more informative. We try to stay out of the politics of it. Our goal is helping people and making sure that people get the health care that they need during this time.
So how are our dollars that we're giving to the United Way directly getting to those people?
So those dollars support the programs, as I just mentioned, the Learning Pod programs, the Fusion Alliance programs. And so we totally focus those dollars on making sure that our partners that we support are getting the funding that they need, in addition to making sure that those programs are actually creating impact through reports. And so what we do, we don't just put funding in programs, we actually look at the impact that they're making. I always say, the measurement of the program is also just as important as just putting funding towards that program.
Right, and it's about the people.
It's always about the people.
And ensuring that, people are being affected by these programs.
Absolutely.
I find it interesting that you're not even from Delaware.
No, I'm actually originally from Detroit.
And you walk the halls of the Capitol building, so you understand the agenda, you understand how things work, and the necessity of getting these programs together.
I do. One of the things is that serving people and helping people, I've done it all my life. And I think with this program, United Way has been doing it for 75 years here in Delaware. And my job is to, continue to do it for the continuum of my tenure, and making sure that we not only serve people of color, but we serve the communities that are most vulnerable, and we continue the legacy that we started in, I think it's 45. I think that's when we started.
Well, again, I hope that we hit all your goals that you're trying to accomplish for next year.
All right.
If you ever need us here on the agenda, we are here for you.
All right.
And we look forward to working with you. Well, thank you for taking this great ride with us through the first year of the agenda. This episode deals with what we stand for here, and that's taking care of other people. And we would like to thank Brendan and United Way for coming on and telling us all about it. But we've also dealt with some great issues this year. Everything from the Afghani refugees, dealing with our former governor, Jack Markell, all the way down to prison reentry. We've dealt with some very hard issues. And we'd like to thank you because we've gotten your responses, and we know that you're watching, and we know that you care. Speaking of caring, ensure that you get your COVID vaccine. Ensure that you're being tested if you feel that you've been infected by the disease. Reach out to the county webpage for future information in regards to testing and vaccination. Again, we'd like to thank you this holiday season for hanging in there with us, and we look forward to seeing you again here on the agenda.